It's time.
Yeehaw! It's time for a guide on a little character I like to call this guy. Okay, so Donnel, the farm boy. Honestly, I kind of hated him at first, and I don't love him still. He's still one of my lesser favorite characters in Fire Emblem Awakening, but he's so good that he's worth using anyway. Now, I also want to point out that this video was requested, otherwise I probably wouldn't have been doing Donnel for a very long time. So this just goes to show you, if you actually want to see a specific character, you're going to have to ask. Okay, so we're going to get into Donnel's attributes and growth rates, which are ridiculous, in just a second. But before we do that, I just want to point out a few things about his character. He's actually recruited in a paralog chapter. That means actually, so is Tiki. I forgot to mention that. But he's recruited in the first paralog chapter, which is like a side quest, and you recruit him by he automatically joins your team for that battle. But to actually formally recruit him, he has to level up once within the battle, and that is no small feat. That kid is awful at first. I mean, he's horrid at first. And I would call him an Est type, but you get him so early in the game. Est was a character a long time ago in Fire Emblem who came in at level 1 really late in the game. Was really amazing, but you had to train her up a really long ways to make her good. Got it? He would be like that. It's a whole archetype. But he comes in right at the beginning, and it doesn't really work. I think Olivia is more like that, actually. And I will be doing a guide on Olivia eventually, because she's great, and I really want to make sure you guys know how to use her. Anyway, so, Donnel is really amazing, but he's a weird farm boy that's really, really hard to train. I don't personally like his character a whole lot, but when you weigh it against his amazing abilities and power level, I'm going to use him anyway, if only to have the child inherit the amazing skill that I'll talk about in a little bit. Anyway, for now, we're going to talk about his growth rates and base classes.
Alright, so here we're looking at Donnel's character growth rates. So, before we begin though, I want to point out, Donnel comes with a skill called Aptitude, which adds 20% to all of his growth rates. All of them, including luck and HP. So, that makes him a powerhouse, no matter how you look at it. So, first of all, we're looking at Donnel's on the first line. We have Donnel, along with all of his growth rates. HP is good, very good. The last time we saw HP like that was Tiki. I'll get more into that later. Great strength, fine magic. Doesn't matter, though, because as you can see, none of his classes ever use magic, but whatever. Great skill, great speed. Wait. What? Is that what I think it is? I never thought this day would come. Oh my goodness. People, Donnel, this character has 100 luck. 100%. Oh, I suddenly like this character a whole lot more. Wow. That's amazing. I love it. Every single level he'll get luck. Every single one. Oh, yeah, baby. Okay, so also, great defense and pretty good resistance, although I think I'm just unlucky because I haven't gotten much good resistance growth with him. It's in like the 10, like I have like 10 resistance at level, whatever, 5 promoted or something. It's stupid. Anyway, so, but a quick analyzation of the next classes. The Villager, I don't even know if you noticed this yet, but the Villager kind of sucks. It has the worst HP of like any class except for Dancer, and I'll get into Dancer later. It's like, which is only for Olivia. Crap HP, mediocre strength at best, no magic, crap skill, crap speed, and decent defenses, but still, like, the rest of it's like, what happened? So, obviously, as I'll say later, change out Villager as fast as possible. Mercenary has good growths. Hero has good growth because they're the same. Bow Knight still, for some reason, confuses me why it has 50 HP growth when Fighter only has 45. Very weird, but whatever. Anyway, all of the growths are fine. Bow Knight's defenses are a little lacking, but not much you can do about that. Anyway, I'm not going to go into much more detail here, though, because, as you might imagine, with his growths already so amazing, the little bits and pieces, differences added by these don't really matter, because with pretty much every other character, you're going to be, all my reviews and all my nonsense could be completely garbage if the random numbers just screw you over and you get a bad character. That won't happen with Donnel, because he has such amazing growths that you would literally have to be the unluckiest person in the world to not have almost all of his stats go up every single level. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. Anyway, guys, so now that we know that Donnel is a freaking beast and there's nothing you can do to change that, let's look into how you can make him even more of a broken beast by examining his skills and class selections.
It's just not even fair. I mean, the last character that had growth rates like that was Tiki, and she's a freaking dragon. Although, honestly, I don't understand why Manakes get such amazing growth rates anyway, but whatever. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about skills now, skills and classes. As you saw, he is very limited in what classes he gets, which is kind of strange, actually. Like, I wouldn't have expected that from him, but he really only has 3 choices when promoted. The Bow Knight, the Hero, and the Warrior. Now, they're all pretty decent choices, but it's hard to say exactly what the best option is. Now, I think it's pretty easy to say that the best option, strictly speaking, would be to go to each class getting all the best skills and whatnot, because there's only 3. But that would still take a really long time, and I know most of you guys aren't going to want to level them up to like level 15 Villager, which, by the way, isn't even necessary. As I said earlier, Villager class sucks, and honestly, the level 15 skill isn't even worth it. I would class change him out of it as soon as possible, which means level 10. Now, which other class do you go to after that point? War Fighter or Mercenary? They're pretty equivalent in most ways, but to be honest, Mercenary has 2 awesome skills, while the Fighter has one goodish one. One good one. It's good. It's just not as good as the other ones. Anyway, Mercenary is almost certainly the better choice. Now, after that, though, what do you promote him into? Hero or Bow Knight? Now, this is... this depends on what you're going for. Personally, I liked this build. I wanted to make a character that basically was able to counter enemies' attacks. Now, counter is a skill owned by the warrior class, so you might be thinking, why didn't you become a fighter then? Well, we'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to be able to counter enemy attacks, and I wanted Donnel to be able to use the bow breaker skill to make himself hard to hit at range, to overall making a character that's really hard, almost impossible to hit from a distance, and really incredibly strong at melee range. So that's what I wanted to do, which meant I had to get the bow breaker skill from Bow Knight and the counter skill from Warrior, which really just meant, since Mercenary was the better choice of the 2 lower classes, it made the whole route really simple. I turned him into a Mercenary, then into a Bow Knight, leveled him up to level 15, switched him over to Warrior with a change seal, or a second seal, sorry, and then got him up to level 15, counter everything, boom, done. Now, after that, you can kind of choose what you want to do with them. I mean, if you get to that point, you're like, well, now I still have to level him up more. I mean, you could, I don't know, I think just keeping him in Warrior is probably the easiest option, but if you want Soul, which is actually a very good skill, which is in the Hero class, which will heal you. I mean, healing is great, so I can't argue with wanting it, but still, I would overall just say ignore the Hero class, even though the Hero class is really good. In Donnel's case, I think he's better used by going to Bow Knight and then Warrior. So, it's your choice, though. I think another good option would be to go to Hero and then Warrior, and then just always use bows and just kind of ignore the fact that the enemies can't attack you. But it's your choice anyway. Okay, so supports. This is important, okay? And this might get a little technical, so bear with me here. Donnel is one of 2 characters that when, I don't really want to say bred, when mated or when married to a female character, will actually give the child, if the child is female, the Pegasus Knight class. Now that may sound weird, like you know though that the child characters inherit the classes of the parents. That makes sense. But since female children can't inherit fighter class from Donnel, which is one of his options, he'll instead inherit Pegasus Knight to them. Now, as I've said a billion times, Pegasus Knight is important because it gives them access to Dark Flyer, which is especially good with certain characters. So, now, that being said, this is only helpful if the woman Donnel marries doesn't already give the daughter Pegasus Knight, which means that we're looking for women who have female children who don't have access to the Pegasus Knight class. That, believe it or not, only leaves us with two options: Sully and that other person that I'm blanking on completely right now. Tharja. Sully and Tharja. Now, which one's better? Yeah, whatever. Honestly, that's mostly your preference. I mean, it just depends on what you want out of it. I'd say overall, Tharja is probably a better choice for Donnel because their daughter Noir already has good magic and strength, and giving that child the Dark Flyer class would be excellent, like really good. Now, I also should mention this before I lose my train of thought. Donnel can pass on the skill Aptitude. Aptitude is the skill that makes him so good. I think I probably mentioned it before, but you should have it on him at all times because it's so amazing. Now, he can pass that skill on by being the last skill on the list, but that's the only way they can get it. The children characters don't inherit the villager class, so you have to be careful about it. You have to make sure they inherit the Aptitude because it's so freaking good. Now, that being said, whether you choose Sully or Tharja is really up to you. I actually chose Sully because she's a physical unit, so she would be able to pair better with Donnel. It doesnn't really matter much either way. And actually, Kiel is quite good too, her daughter. So there's really no reason why you can't choose her. I think Tharja/Noir might be a slightly better choice, but it's ultimately up to you in the end, just your personal preference. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This was a guide on Donnel. If you have any questions about Donnel, please feel free to post them in the comments below, or any questions about his possible daughters or whatever. If you have any more ideas for characters you want me to do a guide on, leave them in the comments as well, because as this shows, again, I do listen to you guys, and there are some characters that I'm just not going to do unless I'm requested to do them, because like Henry, I was recently requested to do Henry, and it would have taken me forever to get to him otherwise, but now I'm going to do him in about 2 weeks, so yeah, it works, guys. Just trust me on this one. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Please leave a like or a comment or a sub or whatever below, and I'll see you guys next time.